Alright, guys. Hey, happy 4th of July to all those individuals living in the United States. Anyways, if you want to look at this graph over here, this is the Nikkei from the mid 1980s to right now, 2014. I think the Nikkei as of right now is like 15,300, 15,400. I don't know right now at the top of my head. But what I do know is they implemented QE in March of 2001, and we could go back to it. Yeah, Nikkei 13,000. Right now 15,300-ish. So we could say that at the end of July, right? We could just say that there's a 2,300 point increase in the Nikkei, right? And let's divide that by 13,000. That's a 17.69 increase over 13 years, but if you want to do it annually to see the percent change. So basically, the Nikkei, since quantitative easing, has gone up 1.3%, and we have these central planning economists, right? The guys that you see on television, always cheerleading quantitative easing, how Japan needs an aggressive quantitative easing policy. Even Milton Friedman talked about this, which is ridiculous. Ben Bernanke also emphasized this kind of crazy policy, and where has it led them? It has led them to nowhere within the span of, I don't know, 14 years, 13 years. And could you see this market going higher? Yeah, as long as you see the yen carry trade continue on. If you see a weaker yen, this market is going to go higher. But at the end of the day, all this funny money leads to asset bubbles, right? So we're going to see what type of asset bubble is going to be within the next few years. Hopefully it's not a disastrous one, but long story short, we know that there's no such thing as a free lunch. Unfortunately, individuals like Krugman, Stiglitz, all these Nobel Prize winning economists won't tell you this. Even individuals on CNBC won't tell you this. There's no such thing as a free lunch. And now, if you want to look at the United States market, you see a lot of people cheerleading or always promoting quantitative easing and how it's wonderful. And I don't know what they're talking about. They may say that, hey, we have a higher stock market, but once again, there is no such thing as a free lunch. Repeat that after me. There's no such thing as a free lunch. Alright, so if you want to look at it from 2003, right, Dow 6,500 to roughly Dow 17,000, people will say, hey, that's wonderful, that's great. Well, it's great for individuals who are in the 1% who mainly own the equity market. It's good for individuals that are in the stock market, but the stock market is not the general economy, and this is what people don't seem to understand. They cannot connect the dots, or they fail to acknowledge this fact. I mean, they're saying that, hey, good jobs report equates to a higher stock market, right? But if you want to look at a few other things, we could see the disastrous policies of quantitative easing. Alright, if you want to look at this on CNS News, talk about the jobs number. Let's go read it. And the title is Record Number of Americans Not in Labor Force in June. The number of Americans 16 and older who did not participate in the labor force climbed to a record high of 92 million in June, according to the data from the Bureau of Lies and Scams. This means that there were 92 million Americans 16 and older who did not only have a job, but did not actively seek one in the last 4 weeks. That is up from 100,000 or 111,000 from the 92 million Americans who were not participating in the labor force in April. In June, according to the BLS, the labor participation rate for Americans was 62.8%, matching a 36-year low. The participation rate is the percentage of the population that either has a job or actively sought one in the last 4 weeks. In December, April, May, and now June, the labor participation rate has been 62.8%. Before December, the last time the labor participation rate sank as low as 62.8% was in February 1978, when it was also 62.8%. At that time, Jimmy Carter was president. And how did the Carter administration end up? It didn't end up well for Jimmy Carter, and that's how it's going to be for Barack Obama, in my opinion, right? Conspiracy or no conspiracy, something is bound to occur, and I'm not one bit optimistic on what's going to happen. So, long story short, while the number of Americans down the labor force increased, the unemployment rate dropped from 6.3% in April to 6.1% in June. You now have to see the headlines from the mainstream media. It's quite ridiculous. Look at these headlines. Unemployment lowest since Lehman collapse. This is from the Huffington Post. And a lot of Americans, they don't understand basic economics because they are too busy with their jobs. And if they have an economics degree, it's through the Keynesian model that they learn in college. And unfortunately, that is a bunch of Bolshevik propaganda. I mean, even if you want to go to Google and try to search for headlines for unemployment, this is what you're going to find out. This is all propaganda. Hiring is strong and jobless rate continues to decline. This is the New York Times. Well, this shows you why the New York Times is pretty much in dire straits financially. And the reason is because they come up with these bullshit headlines that it decreases to 6.1%. They go by the government numbers. But if you look at it, right, people are dropping out of the labor force. And this is the side of the story which is not emphasized, unfortunately. And this is one of the reasons why I do these YouTube videos. But despite the fact the stock market's going higher. But this is the point of the video, right? I was showing you before what was going on in Japan with the Nikkei, right? And if you look at it one more time, this is up to 2013. Now I want to go back to this graph over here, which has emphasized quantitative easing. And if you look at this, right, here, right, 13,000 Nikkei, and 13 years later, 15,000. Now it's 15,400 as of tonight, as I'm doing the video right now. So if you want to look at it, where's the market gone? The market has roughly increased, I don't know, 1.7% year after year. And some people are saying that the United States is going to be no different than Japan. So, if you want to look at that, how could we project the Dow in 10 to 11 years? Is it going to be sideways like Japan? Or is it going to be like a third world country, like some of these countries in South America where they have a huge distinction between the affluent and the poor, where the stock market continues to rise and rise and rise, but at the same time the middle class continues to get poorer. And that's what I see happening, where the stock market may rise, right, in nominal terms, but the average middle class guy, unfortunately, he's going to be struggling much more than he is right now. And this is the story that the media unfortunately does not tell us, and some of the cheerleaders of quantitative easing will not tell you. They will not tell you the fact that it takes 2 incomes to raise a family compared to what was in the 1970s. So, there you have it. I mean, sure, stock market may be going up, but what about the job prospects for those who are unemployed or who are discouraged workers? This is the side of the story that they won't tell you, because when you have interest rates really low, right, banks aren't going to lend. That's a fact. So if banks are not going to lend, then how are these jobs going to be created? How are you going to have more capex spending? So this is something to think about, guys. Thanks for listening, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.